Andrew Scheer is the Member of Parliament for Regina Capel. He is running for Speaker in tomorrow's special Speaker election in the House of Commons. How are you, Andrew?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, no problem. So what I've been doing is I've just been asking people to give a 30-second to 1 minute pitch on why they should be Speaker. Obviously, you believe that because you're running. So why don't you let the members of Parliament and larger blog audience know why you want to be Speaker?
Well, in the previous Parliament, I served as one of the deputy speakers to Speaker Milliken. In that capacity, I learned a great deal about the history, the functions of Parliament. Learned a great deal of on-the-job finer points of standing orders and previous decisions. And I really enjoyed it. Gave me a really good appreciation for some of the nuts and bolts of Parliament beyond the partisanship and the theatre of question period. There's still a whole lot to it. I believe that I've gained quite a lot of experience in that capacity, and that those members of Parliament that feel there may be a need for a change in the Speaker's chair will hopefully look to me, who is a different style but still has some experience, so that it won't all be new to me.
Okay, so you're running for Speaker. Obviously, you are. You believe that you will bring a new or different capacity to the Speaker's chair than Mr. Milliken. And why do you think it is necessary to replace the Speaker at this time?
Well, it's going to be up to the members of Parliament to decide that question. I believe I can do an excellent job, and I believe that there is a desire for a different style. Working with Mr. Milliken in the last Parliament, I learned a great deal. He's got a great depth of understanding of the importance of the role, and knows the standing orders very well at his fingertips in many situations. He takes a style that is a little bit more laid back, a little bit friendly, uses a lot of humor and maybe sarcastic wit to diffuse situations so that they don't escalate into major problems. I think that's tremendously effective. However, I do feel that there are some times when the Speaker needs to be a little bit more assertive and make use of some of the standing orders that are there to allow the Speaker to gain control of the House and to, quite frankly, expel members of Parliament for the rest of the day who don't respect the Speaker's authority and don't respect the standing orders around decorum and civility. In the previous Parliament, I also worked under Bill Blakey, who is the Dean of the House and the Deputy Speaker, and he took that approach. He took a far more assertive approach. He's a big guy with a booming voice, and on days when he was running QP, if he raised his voice, the other members really respected it, and I think that's because they knew that his approach was a little more of an authoritarian approach. I think that whoever wins the speakership could easily set a new tone by just coming down once or twice early on in the session, and the rest of the MPs would understand this is how it's going to be, and we'd all behave. It's a little bit like high school in that regard, that you can set that tone early on.
Yeah, my third question actually revolves around that. I wonder if you could elaborate a bit more on the people are saying that, especially observers in the media and perhaps liberals who would define it as such, that there is an increased partisan tone within the House. And, God forbid there be partisanship within the House of Commons, but they said that this leads to division and, in a minority parliament, a sense of not being able to work together to serve Canadians. Do you believe that this is a problem? And if so, what do you think that you would bring to the job to be able to address it?
I don't necessarily think it's a problem that there's partisanship in Parliament. I mean, we have different parties. The Parliament recognizes different parties, even supports the functions of those parties.
Well, let's speak to unparliamentary behavior then.
So I think you're always going to have, as long as you have two different people with different views, you're going to have that issue. Where it does become a problem is where the rhetoric maybe goes over the top. We start to assign motives to what the other parties are doing. And so just after screaming at each other in question period, we have to go off to committee and find common ground to pass things. I think that can be somewhat difficult if people can't leave that in the House. There's obviously many committees we can point to where things ground to a halt because neither party was willing to budge, and we weren't getting our legislation through. The opposition wasn't willing to accommodate us. They pointed to things that happened in the House and said, you guys did that to us, so why would we help you here? And so I think what all parties are looking for this session is to, okay, look, we all have different philosophies, we all have different ideologies, but for heaven's the system needs to work. We have a minority parliament. We're likely going to have a minority parliament for some time, so we can't all be living under the threat of an election every 3 months. We need to maybe tone it down a little bit.
Okay, my last question is one I've been asking all candidates so far. The Speaker of the House has authority over Parliament Hill and has delegated that authority to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. Of course, Parliamentary Press Gallery is an institution which is perhaps a little slow to change in an evolving media climate. Here I am sitting with a camcorder interviewing a candidate for that job, and the authority over, the authority to delegate authority to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. What would you do in a climate that has blogs, citizen journalists, people essentially with their own channel? I mean, I don't have my satellite truck out the side, but yet here I am taking this message to Canadians and MPs, your message. And what would you do to recognize the new media, and how would you accommodate them on Parliament Hill?
Well, I think it's very important that we need to expand access to the parliamentary precinct for new media. Growing percentage, it seems, every time you read a report on internet usage and media television ratings, it seems like more and more Canadians, especially young Canadians, are finding their news outside of traditional channels. And if we want to engage young people, and if we want to open up different points of view and remove some of the filters about how news is communicated, the blogosphere is one of those excellent tools that has allowed that to happen. There's been quite a lot of news stories that are broken from the blogosphere, from bloggers who do a little bit of extra research, have the time and the tools to go beyond just what the press releases are saying. And I think it would be important for the Speaker to sit down with the traditional media and try to maybe find representatives from different blogging networks or groups of people to determine how we can accommodate that. I can envision, if you open it wide open, you might have 500 people in a small packed room, and some of them may not really represent a large viewership on the internet. Would that be practical? I don't know, but we certainly do have to find a way that we can open up the tent a little bit to let people who blog on the internet on a regular basis, credible, that they can have access to members of Parliament, to cabinet ministers, to some of the committees as well.
Well, great. I would just like to thank you for taking the time to chat. I'm sure you're very busy today, the day before the election. You've got a few panels coming up. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time, and I wish you the best of luck tomorrow in that election.
Thanks very much. We'll see. It could be a long day. You're probably going to take 4 or 5 ballots, and it's at least an hour for each one. So it'll really test the CPAC enthusiasts to see if someone can make it through the whole day.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.